What's up, YouTube? So this video is absolutely wild. It's on the Fox 13 channel that they got going here. And I mean, the question is, would you have shot this guy? And I'm gonna be straight up with you. I would have done it. I don't think the cops did it early enough, personally. And we're gonna talk about that, but like, leave me a comment. Let me know after watching this, would you have shot this guy? Because honestly, and I mean shot him in the back. Shot him in the back, like the cops did. Spoiler. And honestly, I would have. I'm on the cop side on this one. And this is right after I've had a bad encounter with the police 1 year and 2 months ago myself. It made my son rip off the blue stickers that we had on our truck. But you can't blame every single police officer over one shitty cop that doesn't want to do. I'm going to be real with you real quick just to give you some background. Officer Sherry, I think her name was. She is the lady from Reno 911. That's who we're talking about here. That's who I had a run-in with. And instead of showing up and doing the right thing and taking like the bad criminal to jail that smashed into me and my family while we were driving, this bitch just said, well, you know what? It'd be easier to just not take this fool to jail. Even though he's standing outside screaming at the cops, acting like a raving lunatic. And the only thing I'm at fault for is not recording all of this and then forcing them to do their job, because I didn't realize I would ever have to do something like that. Me and my kids are sitting in the car and I'm like, it's okay, boys. The wheels of justice are turning. They're going to take this raging lunatic to jail. Officer Sherry decides, though, it'd be easier to not take him to jail because she ain't got no time for that mess. And the only way to do that is to give me a ticket like I'm at fault, so that everybody just gets to go on their, separate merry way. That is the last encounter I had with the police, and I'm still backing the cops in this scenario right here. Minus Officer Sherry, she's straight goat trash. So let's see what they did here.
Hey, stay with us, okay? I don't know what I need right now. For that guy to live?
You just heard concern. The voice is Sergeant Ed Roberts. That guy he's referring to is Brian Galeano Mendoza, who's just shot.
Just ran over my foot. Get out of the car!
Just 8 minutes earlier, he was trying to avoid arrest.
Real talk, see this? I would have shot him right here. I think the police officer with this footage that's standing right behind the BMW, the stolen BMW that he's trying to take off in, I think he would have had a clear shot through the back window, through the driver's seat. I would have shot like 3 or 4 times and just put him down right here. And not because he's stealing cars, but because right here at this very point, he's putting other people's lives in danger. There could be a pregnant woman in one of these cars that he's smashing into. And by the way, this guy had no regard for life at all. His girlfriend was with him at the time, and she was pregnant, and because of the stress of all this, she lost her pregnancy. He's the one that did that. So personally, I think one of the cops should have just put one in him right here as he's smashing into innocent people, but let's see how this chase plays out.
Investigators have been tailing him after this bulletin had been sent out by the Puget Sound Auto Theft Task Force.
By the way, it sounds like this guy shot a cop a week prior to this, so there's also that.
Man pictured here, believed to be Galeano Mendoza. He'd been linked to multiple car thefts, so when he did this...
We got PC now.
Higher-ups said
right
they had
there.
probably...
Why didn't you shoot him? Why didn't you just take his ass out right there? He is smashing into innocent people, and he's going to push his way through here. He could go down the road and smash into another car. This cop right here, this cop should have done him in, because this isn't stealing property. This is endangering people's lives. Look, the way that I understand it is, somebody walked up into my yard right now and tried to steal my truck. I'm not going to shoot them, because I'm not going to shoot somebody over physical property. But yo, if my daughter is in my truck and you try to hop in and take my truck and drive away with my daughter, you're getting 3 or 4 put through you on the spot. So that's where I draw the line right there. That is how the law is written too. There has to be human life in jeopardy. And I wish it was just life, but it is human life. So I think the cops should have shot him right here. Let me know what you think, but let's see how it plays out.
Caused a chase. He wouldn't go far, though. Now, the crash you just saw took place at 160th and Canyon Road.
Telling him to stop.
Galeano Mendoza lived about 1 mile away, and deputies were now hot on his trail. Sergeant Roberts was the first to arrive, where he watched Galeano Mendoza ditch his car, not even taking time to put it in park.
You're getting on a motorcycle.
Sergeant Roberts approaches on.
By the way, that ain't his car. That's a stolen car. But this police officer pulls up, puts it in the park, and this guy has a getaway bike ready to go. Here we go.
Foot as Galeano Mendoza gets his motorcycle prepped for a getaway.
Stop, I'll shoot you!
Deputy Brian Johnson pulls up as Roberts yells commands.
Stop!
And he was warned multiple
But he didn't
times.
stop. What happens next plays out in seconds. Johnson arrives and throws his car into park. Within the next 5 seconds, he'll open his door, pull out his gun, and begin to fire. Galeano Mendoza's back is to the officer. As a second, then third and final shot is fired. That shot hitting him in the back.
Go Johnson. That's how my Johnson performs right there. Go Johnson. Okay, straight up, I think with the way that this guy is acting and jeopardizing life, I mean, this chase could have kept going. He could have gotten into another car and then smashed into a school bus and killed a bunch of people. This guy had to be stopped right here. Once you're running from the cops and smashing into cars and putting other people's lives in jeopardy, does it really matter if you get shot in the front or in the back at that point? It's going to be in the back because you're running from everyone. That's the way I see it.
Taking him to the ground.
There was no criminal investigation as to what Brian Galeano...
And this is why lawyers all get labeled as scumbags, because here we have his lawyer trying to sue now because boo-hoo, this criminal got shot in the back while doing a crime, and now he might be paralyzed or whatever, and he should have thought about that before he pulled all this shit. And hey, you know what? I've lived on both sides of the line. Okay, I understand people have to live and times get tough. Hey, who knows? Maybe someday I might have to commit a crime for me and my family's sake. But my golden rule on this is if you're not smart enough to do it and get away with it, as soon as you have to start putting people's lives in jeopardy and the police show up, you need to just give up. See, had this guy just gave up while he was in the car and not ran over that cop's foot and not smashed through those people's car, well, he wouldn't have 3 bullet holes in his back or 1 bullet hole or whatever the hell it was. That's the way that I'm looking at it. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. Like, I am not Team Back the Blue over here. Remember, I just had a bad run-in with the cops myself a year ago. I'm trying to be 100% fair about this. I'm on Officer Johnson's side. And, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. We'll keep playing this.
Mendoza did prior to this shooting.
This is Galeano Mendoza's attorney. While an 11-page review issued by Pierce County Prosecuting Attorney Mary Robb...
I couldn't do it. I couldn't be a lawyer like that and represent scumbags like this. I just couldn't do it.
Net calls the shooting justified and lawful. He's not so certain.
The sentence for Brian is that he will be permanently disabled, that he is paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you endanger other people from being a dumbass. What is your point? Like, his sentence could have been death for what he did. I'll be honest with you, Brian is lucky that he's not dead right now. Now, I don't know if he sees it that way, but that's his problem to deal with because he endangered other people's lives and tried to run from the cops. And are they just supposed to let him ride off on the damn bike? Because if that is policy, let me tell you, I'd go rob a bank right now and have a bunch of motorcycles stashed in the city, and I can just go from bike to bike. If the cops aren't going to shoot me for doing shit like this, I could just keep riding away from them. I'll even wave to them. I mean, really think about it. Now, if I'm wrong about that, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. But this lawyer is really trying really hard to be the best scumbag he can be and make a case out of this.
Meaning taxpayers could be on the hook, as this shooting and Johnson's decision-making will go under the microscope as Galeano Mendoza takes the county to civil court. So we dug into every angle of that day's events.
And real talk, the shooting could have been from the side because that cop could have just shot him right there while he was trying to break his window, while he was running over his foot and smashing into other people's cars. That's just the way that I'm looking at it. I honestly think the cops were too slow to shoot this dude.
Looking at dash cams and body cams.
Right there, look at that.
Now he's got his handgun out.
Reviewing each critical moment.
Yeah, and the dude, this right here, this is some Darrell Brooks shit. As far as I'm concerned. Yo, I see somebody using a car as a weapon and endangering other people's lives, like, I'm gonna have to step in myself. This is some Darrell Brooks shit. And for those of you that don't know, Darrell Brooks is the idiot that hopped into a truck because he was feeling some type of way that day fighting with his baby mama and decided to just run over people in a parade, just crash his car into groups of people, and he killed a bunch of them. This guy could have done the same thing right here, just smashing his way through these cars, right? And who knows how much longer this chase would have been going had they not shot him when he was on the motorcycle. He could have taken that motorcycle to another car or a truck and kept running, and like, it shows right here that he has no problem running people over to get away. He is smashing through these cars.
With David Sweeney, a 30-plus year veteran of the force who now testifies in use of force cases around the state.
All right, he just went into the Pacific Pride Park.
Fox 13 obtained video from each key player and dug up documentation from the county's investigation. Now, the prosecutor explains that Johnson didn't always remember how things unfolded.
He just ran over my foot.
Including at what point Johnson's foot was run over. She writes, this
Man, who cares? I mean, honestly, if you had to go through some shit like this, you probably wouldn't remember the perfect sequence of events either. Does that mean that the criminals should just get away with everything? This lawyer dreams.
discrepancy in sequence is understandable and is not critical to this analysis.
That's what I'm saying.
But later, a bigger discrepancy draws no comment. Now, contrary to video evidence, Johnson claims that just before he opened fire, Galeano Mendoza was, quote, coming directly toward him on the motorcycle before he suddenly changed.
Who cares? Who cares? Like, at this point, after he did all that shit, who cares if he's coming right at you on the bike or he's driving like towards you and then away from you? Who cares about the angle that this guy is coming in with the bike? He's already a danger to society, smashed into a bunch of people, jeopardized a bunch of people's lives. Who cares which way he's driving that motorcycle away? I think they were justified, and I think this guy should have got shot sooner.
Directions.
It almost feels, by offering this statement, he was driving right at me, but then not to rebut it with the video that they surely had to see. That's actually the part that surprised me.
The prosecutor did take the time to explain some discrepancies in Johnson's statement about what happened at the actual first stop. But the prosecutor did not explain this discrepancy that you and I are discussing, that it does not appear.
And for anybody that wants to get caught up on any small discrepancies in a situation like that, yo, I got carjacked and shot and stabbed in Detroit, and I'll never forget that day, but I'll also never remember that day. I don't remember exactly how it all played out. Like, when you get that level of adrenaline, like, I am surprised this police officer nailed that shot. Like, his hands had to have been shaking a little bit from all the rush of that. And that's, I mean, there's going to be like dead spots in your memory when your brain is trying to cope with that level of the chemicals being dumped in your brain and the adrenaline. So, I mean, like, at the same time, this is why we have, you know, body cams and stuff like that. But are they trying to make a mountain out of a molehill here? Like, who gives a shit what angle this guy was coming in on his motorcycle? I don't even get that. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I think this is just absolutely insane that they're even making us think about this. I could understand if this guy, you know, didn't smash into a bunch of people, didn't jeopardize a bunch of people's lives. I can understand if maybe he was just trying to get away from the cops because he was scared. There'd be no reason to shoot him in the back. But, yo, this is after you already assaulted a police officer with a deadly weapon, with a car. You ran his foot over. You smashed through a bunch of people's cars. It potentially could have killed any one of those people. There could have been a pregnant woman in one of those cars. And actually, the pregnant woman that is involved in this was the criminal's girlfriend. She miscarried because of all the stress that he caused that day. I think they're getting to that right now.
From what we see, that the motorcycle drives towards Johnson. It might come closer to him as it moves from the right side of the road to the left, but clearly it does not turn towards him.
Who cares?
We also learned that Sergeant Roberts was trying to stop Johnson from opening fire. He wasn't confident taking his own shot, but asked about Johnson's. He told investigators that deadly force may have been warranted.
Totally was.
When I first saw the video, and I just thought this was a pursuit case, I thought that was a bad shooting.
But Sweeney's tune.
Yeah, I will agree. If that was just a pursuit case, if they walked up on this guy and he hopped on his bike and was just trying to drive away because he was scared, like, yeah, you can't just shoot people in the back. But once this all gets put into context and you see how he was driving in the BMW and smashing into people and running over a cop's foot, I think that completely changes everything. Let me know if you agree. Make sure to like and sub.
Changed. We read Johnson's statement that was given to investigators. A detective had warned Johnson that Galeano Mendoza was connected to an off-duty police officer being shot 1 year earlier.
Hey, this is their hideout, guys. They like to shoot cops.
I don't know if that played a factor into this, that this criminal was connected to a police officer getting shot a year ago. I'm sure the cops were heated over that, but that also just kind of gives you an idea of what kind of criminal this guy was and what kind of life he was living.
To be clear, Galeano Mendoza was never charged, and we don't know if he was involved. But we do know that he was linked to multiple cars being stolen and 2 instances of a gun being flashed in the days before.
Okay, and they also know that this criminal is armed. He's not just stealing cars. He's armed, and they know he's got a gun on him. Yo, you live by the gun, you die by the gun. Like, this is the shit that's going to happen when you go wilding out like a criminal like that.
Or this.
Right there. I would have shot him right here.
Sweeney calls it a justified shooting.
That made a complete total
He was
180
more than
for me.
patient right
and
there.
now when I look at it, I realize the danger level that this suspect posed to the public.
That's what
I
I'm
think just
saying.
the idea that the officer knew the danger factors that were present, and that influenced his decision on whether to shoot or not.
Of course, not everyone agrees.
The trigger never should have been pulled. It was not safe.
Oh, yeah. The trigger should have never been. You should have just let him drive away on that bike. Like, man, get real, dude. And I guarantee you the scumbag lawyer wouldn't be thinking this if he was in one of those cars that this guy smashed into.
For him to shoot at Brian Galeano Mendoza.
Now, that statement isn't just about Galeano Mendoza. I was actually out at the scene and found this bullet hole. Workers were near the site and say they started to scramble when the bullets started to be fired. There's also Galeano Mendoza.
To be fair, when that police officer took those shots, it's not like there was any people around that he could see. I think he made the best judgment call that he could in the situation that he was in. Had there been any signs of people in that direction, that cop probably wouldn't have taken that shot.
The girlfriend who was there during the crash and the shooting, she was pregnant at the time but lost the baby, they claim, due to stress. So was this a good shot? A civil
Yeah, I think it was, and I'm gonna leave it at that. So again, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. I would like to know what people think about this, because truth be told, I would have taken the shot myself before it even progressed to all of this. Anyway, stay strapped, everybody. Keep your head on a swivel. These people exist, and this is how they're living. So be careful out there. Like, sub, leave me a comment. Help me stroke the algorithm a little bit. Got to finesse the plug. You know what I mean? And I will see you on the flip side later, everybody.